From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.
Campus Live fans, it's Lane here in the Miller Waldrop Studios today, and I'm proud to present another episode of the Guns Blazin podcast, episode 11. As always, I'm one of your hosts today, and alongside me today is Mr. Jett Castro. Jett, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday out here in Lubbock?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be a part of another show and ready to talk some ball with you.
Absolutely. You know, it's been a jam-packed week in college football and college basketball, obviously with the semifinals. They started last night, as well as a lot of great college basketball games that have gone on this past week. We will have a lot to discuss, just what's happened this week and then obviously what's going to happen tonight and then obviously this weekend. But first off, we just want to thank you guys for all the support that you've continued to show us on all of our social media platforms, wherever you're seeing our content, at either the Guns Blazin podcast or at Campus Live TTU, and as well as thanking all of our sponsors for the Guns Blazin podcast with JSI Industries and the Exceptional Community Hospital in Lubbock. First off, Jett, it's been a while since we've had a podcast episode. Actually, before
Holidays.
Our playoff game was about 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think like the third week of December. So we have not been able to discuss the Texas Tech and Oregon game that happened on New Year's Day, the Orange Bowl. First off, before we break down the game and, the positives and some negatives, I just want to be positive and, say how proud I am of the team this year and just how far we've come as a program in this past year, winning the Big 12, going to the semifinal, accomplishing all these things that this program has never accomplished before, setting all the records that this defense did, all the milestones that we've had, and all the donors that have, really put this together with Coach McGuire and General Manager James Blanchard, all their ideas and their creativeness that have made this program now one of the top college football programs in the country, and all the memories and fun. I think this was maybe the most fun college football season I've ever watched. Jett, what are some of your best memories from this past year?
That defense, first and foremost, we've never seen anything like that, come through Lubbock. And as soon as it was over, that's kind of like, that was my first reaction, was just like, I'm going to miss seeing that group, to just play together and turn the ball over. And they were special for sure. And But yeah, so we're gonna have to reload, and but I agree with everything you said. It was probably the most fun I've had as a Tech fan. It's always great to talk about it, and but seeing it come to fruition was pretty unreal, and it's still unreal that the season that we had, but it's getting pretty exciting now that we're in the transfer portal and things are already moving. So, but we'll get to that later on.
Yeah, I think probably my favorite memory from this year was the BYU game here in Lubbock. I know the Big 12 championship, that obviously is definitely probably equal with that as well, but having College Game Day here, getting to, go behind the scenes, as a company and go do all that was so cool, and just something that Lubbock really never has gotten to experience. I know we did in 2008 whenever they played Texas, but obviously we were not here, and grown adults for that game. So,
and there wasn't like as active social media and stuff, so you weren't seeing literally every clip from from it. It was a lot different this time, I feel like.
Yeah, it was. I think, in my opinion, really in the opinion of any Texas Tech fan, it was the greatest season for football in the history of this program, and I'm just so excited for the future. And but it did end, and it was 23-0 out in Miami. Since the last time we were on, obviously we discussed this was the biggest game in Texas Tech history, and really the point of emphasis that me and you had discussed was how we thought Barron and our offensive line were going to be the two most important factors in this game, and unfortunately, it came to be true.
Yeah.
And Barron, first, before we talk about this game, I wanted to thank him as well, for his time as a Red Raider. He is the quarterback that led us to our first Big 12 championship. That has never been done before. He's one of the most actual winningest quarterbacks in the history of Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Has one of the highest QBRs in the history of Texas Tech, and he has gotten obviously a lot of hate for his play and against Oregon, and some of the criticisms are fair of his play. I will say, some of the targeting obviously not as fair, but I just wanted to thank him first for his duty as a Red Raider, because He technically really is one of the best in the history at Texas Tech because no other quarterback did win the Big 12.
And he could have left.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have left. There's plenty of times I feel like he had some other offers, and he really wanted to stay and, try to build with Coach McGuire. So, props to him.
Yeah. But, thank you for your service, Barron. But as far as this game goes, unfortunately, I thought Barron, he might have played his worst game as a Red Raider, Jett. This was obviously versus maybe the most talented defense he's probably played against probably at Texas Tech. Oregon, one of the best defenses in the whole entire country. They rank in the top 10 to 15 in every statistical category. Their secondary might be the best secondary in the country this year. And you really saw it on full display. Obviously with Barron, he had 3 turnovers, 2 really bad interceptions, and then he had the strip sack. I was really proud of our defense, though, before we, go back into the offense. Oregon has one of the most dynamic offenses in the whole entire country. They had all their receivers back besides Evan Stewart. And our defense collectively played, I think, the best that they played all year long, Jett. What did you think about our defensive performance and just how they managed that whole entire game?
I was just most impressed by it, like, when they would get to the red zone, or they were getting, they would threaten, whether or not it was because of the offense, just different circumstances. Anytime they were in the red zone, it was just like they couldn't get past that wall, and that goal line stand they had where Dante rolled out and David Bailey just jumped like a million feet in the air and swatted it, and that's just the kind of time that they were on. And they gave the offense a lot of chances, early on, like a lot of chances. And there was like some semblance of life with the offense. Jacoby, he broke away for that big run we thought we set it up right there. Then I think there was another good deep pass that Barron had early on that could have set us up, and just none of those were resulting in drives. And I was thinking too, if we could have just gotten less untimely sacks, like on Barron and stuff, we could have gotten some field goals out of a couple of those possessions, but their defensive line had our offensive line confused at some times, and the Barron didn't have a lot of time, in some dropbacks.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of the flack has gone towards Barron, and obviously he did not play a good game. Obviously, like you said, the offensive line, they've had their better days. I did think that in pass protection, I thought that they did have a pretty good game as far as that goes. I know that Barron was sacked about 4 or 5 times, but I thought that a lot of those were actually kind of on him, self-sacking himself, either rolling out into pressure or just taking too long to either, hey, just throw the ball away or just find your down receiver in the flat.
Get rid of it.
But, they didn't – the thing that really bothered me with the offensive line was really in the running game. We only averaged about 2.5 yards per carry. We had one of the best running games in the whole entire country this year. I know Jacoby broke off that long run, but if he didn't have that, him and Cam Dickey would have combined for about 60 yards rushing in the whole entire game, and that's just absolutely not going to do it.
Even that run, like, I think it was a bust.
It was a bust, yeah.
So,
But, I mean, like you said about David Bailey, too, I thought he absolutely solidified himself as a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Having that type of film against a team like Oregon. Oregon's had one of the best offensive lines in the country this year. But really what I wanted to touch on was our offense. That was the story of this game. It was 6-0 at halftime, and at that point, we'd kind of seen some of the red flags rear their head against teams like BYU and Utah, our top competition. First game, we really struggled in the red zone versus BYU. Against Utah, before Will Hammond honestly came in for an injured Barron, our offense was struggling. And then in the Big 12 championship, that game was, 7-6 at halftime, and then eventually later on in the game we opened it up. But
defensive scores.
Our defense really set us up for success all year long, not just in those games, but that's really what catapulted our offense into scoring more points in those games. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. The time of possession was insane in this game. In the first half, it was 23 minutes to 7 minutes. For even as great of a defense as we had, that's just never going to work.
You always felt like they were running back on the field.
100%.
Yeah, it was like they didn't have any time. They didn't have any time.
I would have loved to see even a better game plan out of Coach Leftwich. You know, I know we love to go our fast tempo and everything like that, but a few of those drives where your defense just got a 3 and out, I would have loved to seen us just hold off on the tempo. Even if we go 3 and out or get one first down, you're at least giving your defense more time for some rest. Continuing to go tempo, and it wasn't working. I really didn't understand that too well, especially when you had a struggling quarterback in Barron, letting him just calm down a little bit. Maybe he could have read the defense better, calmed some nerves, because ended up with a QBR of 18. That is just, never going to be able to win you a game, especially in that level. And I thought our receivers as well, which we had displayed concerns about all year long, how they are going to get separation against top competition. And, there were plays where they were running wide open, and Barron, unfortunately, either missed him or the offensive line let a guy free and he got sacked.
Yeah.
But Terrence Carter was our best receiver, and he's a tight end. Jett, what did you think about really our offense as a whole and just how they operated in that game?
And I guess you go back to that point where it was 6-0 at halftime, and I just felt like where's Koyik and where's Reggie Virgil? I didn't understand where any of these players were, and if he was even looking their way. That's how confusing it was to watch. I feel like for me, but then Terrence Carter, if we could have got more performance like that, but yeah, I don't know. I just felt like everyone was kind of non-existent.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of times they were open, and I feel like Barron was trying to hit them on routes that were just timed routes.
Yeah.
And a lot of them just weren't syncing up. So that was chalking up a lot of the incompletions.
Yeah, and between our three main receivers, they had a combined of 3 catches. Caleb Douglas had 0, Reggie Virgil had 2, and Koy Eakin had 1. And I know we've obviously talked about it. Everyone on social media has talked about it. I know Barron wasn't great. But
how many completions did he have?
Barron had 18 completions, and nine of them went to Terrence Carter. Terrence had 9 of 72. So half of his completions went to Terrence, and I know obviously, like I just said, Barron didn't have his best game, but 3 completions from your receivers, that's not all on Barron. There's got to be either a better scheme for the routes that will open up better against a really tough defense like Oregon, or you might need some better receivers, and we will talk about that later on in this show as far as the transfer portal goes. But, having 4 turnovers, and Oregon only had 309 yards. We talked about how well our defense played.
Yeah.
And they only rushed for 1.4 yards per rush, 47 attempts, 64 yards rushing. That's how good our defense played. And I did think that Dante Moore in the game, though, I thought he played really well in his really a game manager role.
Yeah.
And he hit
that's what it came down to him being.
Yeah, I thought he hit a bunch of key third downs. And I did think that in the special teams game, they had that fake punt. We missed a field goal. They had 3 field goals. Dan Lanning just had a great game plan, I thought, and I think he knew on the film our offense had no chance before the game started. Jett.
You saw it with him going for it, like he was playing a video game. He was not punting the ball, dude. He was trying to steal a possession anywhere he could get it on that defense, and a lot of people don't understand. It's not that it's just it's 4th and short. That's why it's difficult to stop. It's just difficult to stop someone 4 times in general. Within a 10-yard span. 3 times is hard enough, and then with him constantly going for it on 4th down. Because what were they 3 for? Didn't they go for 5 times? I think they were 3
they went for it a lot.
Yeah,
sure.
I think, and so that had to play a toll on the defense. Just having to stay out there for every down possible.
Yeah, and as much as they were on the field too, I mean, you keep racking up those 4th downs. That's a whole nother possession on the field technically. If they continue to stay on the field, and Dan, he was really aggressive in some parts and then really conservative in some parts because, like I said, I think he knew his play calling didn't need to be that aggressive because they knew as soon as I honestly think whenever they scored that touchdown to go up 13-0. I think that they knew that they really could just sit on their heels the rest of the game because our offense wasn't going to do it. It wasn't going to score. And they won the time of possession battle, and they won the field possession battle, and then the turnover battle. And unfortunately, when you play a team as good as Oregon, it's just you're not going to win those battles, Jett.
And even at that, the defense got you an interception that set you up, and you're right there in the red zone, and could make it 13-7. You know, with like 12 minutes left in the fourth, like plenty of time, and unfortunately Barron, throws a jump ball, and they end up intercepting it again. Which I was confused. Why didn't they run it back? Why did he just kneed it down? He could have got 6 tries. I feel like he could have.
It was pretty open.
Like I think he could have ran to the other end zone. I don't think anybody would have caught him.
But once again though, I mean, we made it to the quarterfinals. It's something we've never done before. Obviously, you want to win the game every single time, no matter who you play. So, no excuses on that end. But it was the greatest season in the history of Texas Tech, and I'm really excited for next year. Obviously, as we kind of move on from the Oregon Texas Tech talk and the games that we potentially could have been in the semifinals last night, we did see a classic. It was one of the best games you will ever see. Mm-hmm. One of the best semifinal games that's ever happened in the history of the playoff. Ole Miss versus Miami. It was 31-27. Carson Beck, I thought, played one of the best games of his career. And his stats might not pop off the screen. He only threw for 263, and he had 2 touchdowns. But he also had the rushing touchdown at the end of the game that won them the game. I thought he was so clutch in this game. I thought using his legs, especially on third down, he picked up so many first downs or got close to the marker where they just go for it on fourth down. And obviously you saw it with him running it in the end zone with 18 seconds left, Jett. I thought it was so impressive. What did you think of his performance and just how that game went overall?
Yeah, like you said, whenever he took off running, that was like the last thing I expected was for him to take off. But like the commentator said, they were manned up. Nobody was watching him. Like I feel like that's like nobody that they didn't even think he was going to take off running. And yeah, like you said, it was just an instant classic because not just because of the play on the field, but because of the stories on both sides. Miami, like nobody really wanted them to get in over Notre Dame, and the committee made the executive decision, and now look at them, they're in the national championship. They didn't even win the ACC, so it was like
it's crazy.
And then you look at the other side, Ole Miss, losing Lane Kiffin and doing all this with their new, Pete Golden and basically interim OCs and all that stuff, temporary. Well, they're leaving now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great, and just to watch Ole Miss keep punching back because. It felt like Miami was definitely in charge the whole time, and then like those 3 lead changes there in the fourth were just that was just good football right there, and that was just Ole Miss like refusing to go away and not wanting. You could tell they really like playing with each other because they did not want their season to end like up until the last second.
Yeah, we talked about it whenever we previewed the playoff, and you had predicted Ole Miss to kind of go on a run. We talked about losing Lane Kiffin like that, maybe it rallies this team together. It's exactly what happened. Yeah. They rallied together, went on a run, and I mean they were very close. I mean even at the end there on that Hail Mary, it hit his hand, hit the receiver's hand.
Yeah, they had a questionable no call on that one. So but they had like 18 seconds. He drove all the way down the field in 18 seconds. Like golly, yeah.
And I think that just speaks to the talent of Trinidad Chambliss and their offense. Trinidad, one of the best players in college football this year.
He got denied.
His
waiver.
I know.
He'll be going to the NFL.
I know. Hopefully he fights it. I want to see him in another year of college football.
Yeah, that'd be good, huh?
Yeah.
I think he just probably wants to play Lane Kiffin next year. You would just
back
I feel
in
like
Oxford.
Got to.
And man, he was so electric he has been all year, but really last night. I thought he completely willed his team to potentially winning that game. Quan Lacey, one of the best running backs in the country, after his long touchdown, he was basically on one leg the rest of the game, hurt his hamstring, and they really had a tough time moving the ball until that fourth quarter. And I thought it was one of the best innings maybe in the history of the sport with what was at stake. I thought Miami was the better team throughout the game, and they squandered a lot of opportunities to extend the lead. And they had a ton of penalties, of stupid penalties, honestly. But you got to give credit to Ole Miss. I mean, Trinidad and really what he did with the receivers, willing them back into that game, taking the lead 2 different times at the end of that game, and then obviously, trying to score that late touchdown with 18 seconds left. But man, it was one of the best games you'll ever see. But, obviously congratulations to Miami, and now they get a home game for the national championship, Jett.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think I was watching one of the sports shows this morning, and I think they said their last time playing at home was like November 14th or something like that. So they're getting a home game for the Natty. Who would have thought on that team?
Crazy.
Like I don't think Maybe the coach, but I don't think any of them were sitting there thinking they were going to have a home game for the national championship after everything they went through. They were just hoping they were going to get in. So pretty cool. And then a lot of the past generation, they have their nostalgia of Miami or the 2000s, so that's back when Miami was, quote unquote cool and stuff. So, they're very excited about Miami being good again.
Yeah, and they started off the year, they were top 3 for a while, and then they had those.
They looked really, really good before those losses.
It's almost like they, beginning of the year is kind of how they're playing right now, where really led by their defense and Ruben Bain and Mesidor and all those guys. And they've kind of just gone back to that, leaning on their defense and really playing that time control offense. Mark Fletcher Jr., their running back, has been amazing in the playoffs. I think he's had over 100 yards every single game. And Carson Beck, obviously, last night too, he was he played great. So once again, congrats to Miami, and they will look on to face the winner of tonight's game, Oregon versus Indiana. It's a huge rematch from the regular season. Obviously, Oregon, the team we just played, they are, in the Peach Bowl versus Indiana. Indiana destroyed Alabama 38-3 at the Rose Bowl, and
as much as people are talking about our loss, they need to be talking about that loss. That was worse than what
our
happened.
Game was much more competitive.
Yeah, it was 13-0.
Yeah,
like I'll die on that. Is that it was basically the 23-0 does not do that game justice. But Alabama was like throwing up the white flag, dude, in the third quarter.
And Indiana earlier this year went on the road to Autzen and dominated them really in the fourth quarter. It was 20-20, and then in that fourth quarter, Indiana ends up winning 30-20. And I think it was kind of this point in the year where everyone realized that this year's Indiana team was different. Last year they went to the playoffs. They had a good year, but Notre Dame and Ohio State really dominated them in their 2 big games. And now Indiana, they are the best team in the country right now. I think they're the most complete team in the country right now. And I think it just speaks to what Curt Cignetti has done with this program. He might be the best coach in college football right now, Jett. What he has done at Indiana, statistically, they are the worst program in the history of college football. And in just 2 years, he has them playing potentially for a national championship, and they look like the best team in the country. They have an all-time win percentage of 42%. So this is completely new territory for them.
And that probably got brought up after these past 2 years.
And, Cignetti has them 25-2 in his first 2 seasons there, 2 playoff berths, and obviously, like I said, on the precipice of potentially winning their first national championship. And, man, Jett, what can you speak on how just Indiana's turned around these last 2 years?
Sorry, Joey McGuire. I think that's the coach of the year over there. You say probably the best coach in sports. He's got the best attitude in college sports too. Like everyone just loves his press conferences, and then you're watching Dan Lanning and him, just 2 of the most just hardcore dudes there are in college football. But yeah, like you said, I was gonna bring up too. He's like 25-2 in his past 2 years at Indiana, which is so crazy. And it's even crazier because whenever people do talk about Indiana, they talk about basketball, but then they talk about Bob Knight, which was also probably 30 years ago now. So it's like, or I don't know, it was probably further than that. So it's like, even recent Indiana basketball hasn't been just the most glorious thing, so it's like, and I forget who was saying it, but I think Cignetti came from James Madison, right? And they were saying James Madison probably has slightly better facilities than Indiana might even does, and so that's how big that's how much of a purgatory, I guess you'd say, they were before this. So yeah, it's incredible, and I think they're winning tonight.
And really, just speaking on how this whole season has gone with Cignetti. He brought a guy in with Fernando Mendoza, who he was talented at Cal, but it wasn't seen like one of the crazy transfers from this past offseason. No. There were much more transfers that were more high profile, and Cignetti transformed him into the Heisman Trophy winner, and now he is more than likely going to be a maybe the number 1 pick in the NFL draft this
Probably
next
end up
year.
being a Las Vegas Raider.
Yeah. So not only that too, I mean, just this Rose Bowl win, speaking on Indiana's program, it was their first technically bowl game win since 1991. So that, I think
that's crazy.
That's just how really dormant that this program was. I mean, before Signetti, they were a few years removed from, I think they went 2-10 or 1-11 or something, and now they are one of the best programs in the country and potentially could be in the national championship at the end of tonight.
And they have older players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't go and they don't have huge backers and stuff. I think
they have a bunch of older guys. They have really, besides Texas Tech and Ohio State, Indiana might have the best defense in the country this year. Yeah. And they're missing one of their best defensive linemen. He got hurt celebrating after they won the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I remember that.
But they are ranked, basically top 3 in every statistical defensive category in the country. Just like us in Ohio State, we have been the 3 best defenses this year. And like we spoke about, they demolished Alabama 38-3. But, Oregon, on the other hand, they do have that revenge factor going for them. They have an amazing defense, too, amazing team. And Dan Lanning, he's always going to bring a physical team to the field, no matter who they play. And obviously they did against us. They beat us 23-0. They shut down our offense. And, say what you want about the Big 12, but it had statistically been one of the best offenses in the country this year. And I thought Dante Moore was so good and really in the spots he needed to be, like I said earlier, hitting those big third downs and really just giving what our defense gave them, the guys that would be open below the sticks, but, it would turn into first downs. And what are your thoughts on how Oregon matches up tonight with Indiana, Jett?
Well, like they say, it's hard to beat the same team twice in one year, but I think it'll be rather low scoring again. I think that defense, like how we were saying earlier, it's hard to not give Barron a lot of grief, for that performance. But you also got to give a lot of credit to Oregon because they played very well. So I think they're gonna bring that out again. Dante Moore is gonna probably fix a few things that he wasn't seeing, and going from the Tech defense to the Indiana defense. So I would imagine he's going to probably get a few more points on the board than he did against Tech early.
Yeah, and they settled for a lot of field goals against us in our game, and tonight they cannot do that against Indiana. They're going to need every point that they can, honestly. And Dante, as well as he has played this year, and as good as I thought he played against us, he did have that interception like you spoke about earlier, Jett. And he's had interceptions in every playoff game so far. So he had 2 really bad interceptions against James Madison. And then obviously he had the one against us that almost turned the game on its. I know we got stopped down there, but if we would have scored a touchdown right there, it would have been 13-7 with the whole entire fourth quarter to play.
We would have got to stop.
We would have definitely. I mean, that would have boosted our momentum so big, just with how much we were struggling. And Dante definitely tonight has got to protect the football. If he doesn't, I think Indiana could run away with this game because in their first matchup when they played, he had those 2 interceptions against Indiana, and that ended up really being why Indiana won that game, having those extra possessions. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see. I think he's got to play his most efficient and clean game all year because Indiana right now, they might just be way too good. And Oregon right now is battling so many injuries right now.
Yeah, they're hurt.
And, we were speaking before the show how, Jordan Davison got hurt really on a touchdown that didn't even matter at the end of our game.
They just couldn't knee it, I think, right?
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see. They have a bunch of guys, obviously, like I said, that are hurt. A lot of running backs that are hurt. And Evan Stewart is not playing in this game also. I don't know. What is your initial prediction for this game, Jett?
I was going to bring up the injuries. I think it's probably just the end of the road for Oregon. They're beat up, and they had a good season, but they were just I feel like they were just a tier below, like Ohio State and Indiana this year, and I think they'll probably give them a tough game, but I think Indiana's just rolling.
Yeah,
they got that. The Heisman winner's gonna probably throw like 3 touchdowns, maybe even 4 if he's feeling extra lucky. But I think Indiana's gonna pull away. Probably in the second half of this one. I don't know. What do you think the score is going to be, though?
Well, I predicted Well, I'm going to predict 27-17 for Indiana to win this game. I think it's going to be like last night, maybe not as close at the very end of the game. I think it's going to be really close all game long, though. Yeah. I think it's going to be like 20-17, and then Indiana scores a late touchdown, makes it 27-17. But I think, Oregon, they really didn't have to face much red zone trouble versus us. They're one of the worst red zone defenses in the country. Indiana's going to be down in the red zone. I promise you that tonight. And they're not going to stop Oregon every single time like they did against us. Indiana has a better offense than we do, frankly, and a better quarterback. And I think that Indiana, they run away with it at the end. They win 27-17, Jett.
Yeah, I think that looks good. I'll say 31-17 just to mix it up a little. But yeah, I think Indiana's winning this one tonight.
Yeah. And as we kind of move on from, our game football, talk, the semifinal talk, the transfer portal.
Yeah.
This is the other biggest thing right now happening in college football. Texas Tech, obviously, we are the beneficiaries of the transfer portal, really starting since last year. Obviously, all the buy-in from Cody Campbell and Dusty Womble and all of our big donors with Joey McGuire. And I think we might have the best general manager in all of college football, James Blanchard.
Yeah.
Already with 13 commits. I haven't checked my phone in an hour. We might have some more. But, starting off with Brennan Swarsby, he was the top quarterback by many in the transfer portal, rather either him or Sam Levitt. But we got Kenny Johnson, Adam Trick, Mateen Ibaragba, JoJo Johnson, Trey White, Davin Martin, Bryce Butler, Julian LaVenture, Dante Lee, Jalen Jones, Austin Romaine, and Amari Fleming so far. Jett, who is your favorite commit, not named Brennan Swarsby, that we have committed so far?
I thought it was cool. I saw PFF post. They were like that the second highest graded linebacker the past 2 years that it kind of defeats birds, but that wasn't J-Rod, was Austin Romaine. And we were just like, all right, well, we'll just go get the next. Yeah, we'll just go get the next best one. So I'm excited for him. Was it Trey White is the edge, right? Yeah. Apparently he's like a dog, so he's gonna come in and get some sacks. Shieldwood will have them on their turnover defense. So I'm excited. Those two, I'm really excited for.
Yeah, Romaine, I think really. Obviously you can't replace J-Rod, but if you were to go out and find a guy that plays in a similar way and is just a dog on the field, one of the best replacements you could find was Austin Romaine. And he's been one of the best linebackers in the country the past 2 years. And
he committed quick, too. He was like the first one, I think,
I think he entered with a do not contact tag. So I think we might have had this lined up for a little bit. Maybe after he intercepted Barron in that game when we played against them, he looked really good whenever we played Kansas State. But we do have, obviously, some other guys that have been visiting, some really high-profile guys. Cam Coleman, the wide receiver from Auburn, one of the best receivers in the country. Coy Parrish, one of the best safeties in the country from Minnesota. And we had an offensive lineman, Emmanuel Poku, from East Carolina visit. And also it is rumored that we might have Damon Wilson, the edge from Missouri, maybe get on a visit here soon as well. Cam Coleman, Jett.
That's the one.
That's the one. If we were to pull that off, how do you think our offense looks next year?
I would hope there would be flashbacks of the old days, of them just throwing it all over the park, because apparently those other receivers too that we picked up are the real deal.
Yeah.
What was it? Jalen?
Kenny Johnson, Dante Lee, and Jalen Jones.
Yeah, I've heard good things about all of them too. So just to add Cam Coleman, the next to Brendan Swarsby, like the star of this transfer portal. And I think you were telling me he was on the phone with Pat and stuff over there at Las Brisas. So we're really putting all of our chips in the middle of the table for Cam Coleman.
Yeah, and bringing him in, we already have announced the return of Terrence Carter. Having him back.
Mm-hmm. All three of our running backs. Basically our whole entire offensive line. We did lose Davion Carter and Will Jados, but have a bunch of young depth that had been hurt this year or just waiting in the wings. And then obviously Felix Ojo coming in as well. One of the best offensive tackles in the country this year. It's going to be one of the best offenses in the country, even if we don't get Cam Coleman. If we get him, we might be top three. I was about to say, what do you think our preseason's looking like right now.
We get if we get Mr. Coleman and Coy Parrish, Coy too. I mean,
he was all like first team Big Ten, right?
Besides Caleb Downs this year, he was the other. I mean, probably Dylan Thieneman from Oregon as well, but Coy Parrish was one of the best safeties in the country this year, and he's only a sophomore, so he would be at a Red Raider for potentially 2 years. And man, replacing him with Cole Wisniewski, it's still the jury might be out. Cole might get another year, kind of like the Skylar Good-Howard situation, but after we saw Trinidad get his waiver denied today, I think might not be too likely. But if we get Coy Parrish, man, he's one of the best safeties in the country, and he would fit in right in with this defense that we've.
Ben Roberts coming back, right?
Ben Roberts, Curry's coming back. Bryce Pollock announced he's coming back. This defense should be, maybe not as good as this year's defense, but I think really close. Should be top 10.
Because the line is supposed to be reloaded.
Absolutely,
it's going to be insane.
AJ Holmes coming back too, and
did he say he's coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So,
I know they were waiting on that.
And right now, I mean, just the chaos going on in the portal. 1/3 of all college football players are in the portal right now. That's just. I mean, absolute chaos. You're seeing really all the blue bloods too speak really struggling right now in the portal. You've seen teams like Texas, Ohio State, Miami, Oregon. A bunch of these teams have lost over 20 players and really have only brought in a handful. And you really are seeing now that you can't stack depth up anymore because these young guys they want to go play somewhere and they want to get paid. And they're willing to maybe even go to a smaller school to make that happen. And if there's an opening for a guy that you had as a 5-star and he might be your third string corner, there's a team out there that make him a starter and they pay him even more. So I think you might.
It's not about the logo anymore.
Yeah, it's really not. And that's why Indiana's, could win a championship this year.
So it's cool. But like you're saying about the stacking depth, it's those SEC teams, like for the longest time, like even Nick Saban's backup quarterback was going and winning a Heisman. Like it's like that doesn't happen anymore. And not that we were always just fluent in the transfer portal, but like I feel like those teams are kind of having to adjust, have to figure it out, And we jumped on it as soon as we could because it was kind of like the only route we saw. We were like, let's take advantage.
And it's so funny, the scholarships increased to 105, and now you're seeing really everyone not even hit like the 85 mark that it used to be. Now everyone, it seems like, kind of adopting kind of an NFL type model where it's more you're focusing on your 2 deep and potentially 3 deep in some positions, and you're going to see rosters shrink, and really just it's more about stacking your first and second stringers. And man, it's really crazy, and I don't know. I just hope we obviously maintain our king status in the portal, Jett. But you got any more thoughts on the portal or?
No, it's looking good. We're excited over here.
And as you know, we kind of wrap up our college football talk. It was a big week in college basketball. Will be also this weekend too. We played the University of Houston. Lost 69-65. It was a great game, and quickly this matchup is becoming one of the best rivalries in all of college basketball. And you can see the mutual respect from Coach Sampson and Coach McCaslin after each game. But, man, I really thought we had this one in the bag, Jett. At the end of the game, we kind of like Cincinnati did before the Houston played us, we got Kingston Fleminged. I'd like to say he's going to be a top 10 pick. And their other 5-star Chris Sinak Jr., he had a huge presence on both ends of the floor. What were some of your thoughts on this game and how, unfortunately, we lost, Jett?
Yeah, it was very unfortunate at the ending of that one because I also felt the same way. I felt like when we were up there late, I felt like we were in control. And then it was similar to the Florida game last year where it was like I felt like we had that one within reach, and then all of a sudden one player just goes and hits like 3 big shots in a row. But we'll get to see them again here at home. But like you said, it's turned into probably the best matchup of the year in the Big 12 every year. What used to be like Oklahoma and Kansas or stuff like that. It's always fun to watch them play.
Yeah, I thought Jalen Petty played maybe his best game as a college player. He had 20 points, and then JT Toppin was dominant on both ends. He
Yeah.
had 5 blocks in this game, had another double-double. He was so effective on the defensive end. JoJo Tugler really did not do much. I know he ended up with a double-double too, but Toppin was erasing really everything that came in, and he had a bunch of steals that he got credited for too, stopping passes that were potentially trying to get into the paint. I thought Donovan Atwell gave us some great minutes. Christian Anderson was dealing with that double team every single play.
He couldn't I don't know. They couldn't do anything about it.
I have no worries about Christian. He's one of the best players in the country. Unfortunately though, Lawan Watts did struggle again. I hope this doesn't continue to be a trend. He played amazing versus Duke, had a great game versus Illinois, but really besides the Duke game, if you combine Illinois, Purdue, Arkansas, and the Houston game, he is 12 of 29 from the field, only 41%, and is only averaging 8.5 points per game. So when we're not really playing when we are playing top competition, take out the Duke game, Illinois, he played good as well, but that's really what's even boosting up his stats in this right here. He had 0 against Purdue, had 5 against Houston last night, on Tuesday.
Had some untimely turnovers. You know.
He really has got to get his play up because every Big 12 game is like this. It's high profile, it's high stakes. There's not an easy game in the Big 12. And, you really saw Coach McCaslin. You've seen him rip on him this year. But when he missed that shot at the end of the game against Houston, I don't know if I've ever seen Coach McCaslin rip someone that bad in his time here. He was really upset. And Lawan's been playing a lot better, so I really hope that these games are kind of just one-offs. But, man, we really need him with all of our injuries right now to continue to play better, Jett. And I don't know. What do you think of that whole offensive performance?
Yeah, he needs to help, especially being one of the bigger guys on the floor. For the most part, we just don't have any height out there. It's just him and JT, and then we got guards all over the place. So it's like we don't really need him to sit there and shoot the lights out from 3 or anything like that. We just need him to find open opportunities like down low and maybe get a mismatch here and there. But yeah, maybe it's just a chemistry thing, and they need to just figure it out. But I'm sure it'll come to fruition.
He had a great effort on the defensive end. He played great defense all game. He got some good rebounds and stuff. But yeah, just on the offensive end, especially even though they're not the best team, as we kind of shift from the Houston talk, we do have a game this weekend on Saturday. We will have a live show also as well out at Golf Suites. Fans, make sure to come out to that. Starts at 5 p.m. on Saturday. The game starts at 6 p.m. We play Colorado. They are 12-3 this year, 2-0 actually in the Big 12 so far. We will have a more in-depth breakdown about Colorado on Saturday, but just a quick one. They are a decent team this year, much improved from last year. Really, the past 2 years they were pretty terrible.
Yeah, terrible. They're bad. Yeah.
But now this year they have 5 guys averaging over double digits in points.
Okay.
Have one of the best rebounders in the country with Bangot Dak, and Isaiah Johnson has been one of the best freshmen in the country this year, averaging 15 points per game. They are basically in the top 50 in KenPom with their offense. Really, where they've lost their 3 closest games is because their defense has been really bad. They're like 170th in KenPom. But
who's their coach? Do we know?
Ted Boyles, I think that's his name. Yeah, or Tad Boyle.
Okay.
He really, even though they've been really bad the past 2 years, they had actually a milestone so far this year. Even though, they left the Big 12, they won their first Big 12 road game technically in 15 years. So their last 2 years when they rejoined the Big 12, they did not win one road game in the Big 12. Already did that this past weekend against Arizona State. So
there you go. Yeah.
They are a much improved team. They're really good on offense, and we definitely need to keep up our defensive intensity to win this game because they're going to score a lot of points. I don't know. What's some of your initial thoughts on this game, Jett?
Hopefully it's just one of those where you handle business. I would enjoy to see a route here
Yes.
from Tech. Ideally, not one of those like non-conference games we were seeing earlier in the year. We're winning like 90 something to 80 something. Like I want to see a good defensive performance. I thought it was. I mean, I know our defense. Does well at times and stuff, but I thought it was interesting that one of the commentators during the Houston game was talking about us as like an elite defense, and I was like, I don't know if we're there yet, but hopefully a strong defensive performance tonight, and then another obviously Christian and JT are gonna do their thing, so maybe Petty will keep up what he did last game.
Yeah, and Colorado, and obviously we'll discuss more on Saturday, they are a bigger team too. But besides their 2 guards, their 3 other starters and their 6 man are all over 6'9".
Oh, really?
So
they're big.
That might present a challenge to us, especially with I think this might be kind of a perfect segue into our injury report. Fans, before we head into our injury report, we just wanted to say thank you to the Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock. Fans, once again, this is presented by Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock. And we just want to thank them once again for being a proud sponsor of the Guns Blazin podcast and Campus Live. And be sure to visit their 24/7 state-of-the-art hospital and ER located at 6401 Spur 327 here in Lubbock. They accept all insurances and have short ER wait times. And once again, the Exceptional Community Hospital is proud to support this week's injury report on the Guns Blazin podcast. We've been talking about it for weeks. All of our big men, Luke Bengboye, Mario Lakuentok, Josiah Mosley, and Latrell Hoover, all of our 4 tallest players, they're all hurt.
What drills do they do?
I don't know. They
practice.
Intense practice. I mean, Coach McCaslin loves his intense practices.
I guess so.
And man, we really could use them. I mean, in every game, especially against Houston, we could have used them. But we definitely need these guys to get back soon. And I hope that against a taller team like Colorado, we can defeat them. Jett.
Yeah, I didn't know Colorado was that tall, so that's definitely concerning. But maybe we'll shoot it. Maybe we'll shoot it well tonight too, because. Man, Atwell can shoot it from deep, huh? And then Christian will have a good performance too. So hopefully we can just stay away from those mismatches.
Yeah, and even as tall as they are, like I said earlier, one of the worst defenses in the Big 12. So hopefully that size is just kind of a mirage, so to speak, and we can and defeat them. But, obviously, once again, fans, make sure to either watch our show or come out on Saturday for our live show. But, some keys that I wanted to talk about in this game really, and we will discuss more, like I just said, on Saturday, but 2 paving the way to victories I have for Texas Tech. This will go into our next segment. Fans, JSI Services is a proud partner of Campus Live, and be sure to visit their website at jsiservicesllc.com to learn about their asphalt and paving services, earth and dirt works, concrete and gutter paving, crack fill, seal coating, and stripping services. And once again, thank you to JSI Services for their proud support of Campus Live and the Guns Blazin podcast with the paving the way to victory segment. First, I think it's finding your offensive rhythm again, especially on the road. It really doesn't matter what team you're playing in the Big 12. I know Colorado the past 2 years has not been good, but like we said, they're a much better team this year. They can score a lot. And we struggled a little bit on offense against Houston. I know Houston, obviously, one of the best defenses in the country every year against Kelvin Sampson and their defense. But, Jett, what do you think is a way that we can kind of find our offensive rhythm again against Colorado?
I feel like they just can't rely, on the 2 NBA players that we have on the court. A lot of times you could tell when they get, when they get in trouble and it ends up being JT just backing, trying to back down to the post and throw up his hook. But I think just don't rely on them too much. Try to find keep swinging the ball around. Just find the open man. Don't get caught up in trying to play iso ball or anything like that, because I don't think, besides Christian, I don't think a lot of them want that.
Yeah, and Christian really versus Houston got double teamed all game, and I think
every play.
Yeah, so I think you might see some teams that have the athletes to do that can do that all game long. Maybe not like Houston does, where it's every single possession, but I think you'll see teams use that strategy against us. Christian is such a good player, and He is probably our most dynamic player on offense. JT is our best player overall, but Christian is really our engine that gets running. You've seen all year long when he scores 20 plus, that's when we're scoring basically 100 points every time he does that. So it's going to be really interesting to see, and I think that besides the offense, I think that secondly in this game, got to continue to see our defensive rise that we've seen over the past few weeks. Now up to 44th in KenPom in defensive rating. So literally in just one game, we were 53rd against Houston. Now we're all the way up to 44, and then whenever we had our show against Duke, it was 64th. So literally in the past 3 weeks, we've jumped 20 spots.
Okay.
You know how Coach Castleton loves his defense, and we talked about how that needs to improve. We obviously saw that against Duke when we beat them. Definitely against a really talented offensive squad in Colorado. Got to see that defense continue to rise up, Jett.
Yeah, and then with the game being in Colorado too, you got to think about the altitude.
Yeah.
You might need to slow down the game, like try not to just push the ball down the court early on, because then you're going to have a lot of guys out there gassed. And I don't know if we so much like to play all of our players, 35 plus minutes, but that's what ends up happening. And the altitude is a real thing over there. So, what do you think that,
I think
some other players might get a few more minutes tonight? Or
yeah, I think definitely you could see a Leon Horner maybe push for 15 to 20 minutes. Nolan Groves getting some more minutes. I'm surprised he honestly didn't play more against Houston, just for some defensive, relief for JT and for Lawan and those guys. And, hopefully we can just get one of our bigs back, literally just one of them. Just one of them would help. But, man, it should be really interesting. And I think the altitude thing, that's really interesting that you brought that up. Something we'll definitely have to keep an eye on Saturday, and maybe something on our live show that we'll have to discuss more, because playing really 6 guys over 30 minutes every game, that could be a recipe for disaster if we get really tired in that game, and maybe even get into a shootout if Colorado hits their shots. But that'll kind of wrap up the college basketball section. Before we head out, the NFL playoffs do start tomorrow as well. Kind of wanted to touch on this for a quick segment. Jett, give me a wild card team a team that can make a run.
Okay.
In the NFC and in the AFC to the Super Bowl.
Man, let's see. Okay. So for the AFC, I'm looking at I would really hope for Josh Allen to be able to do it, and like without Mahomes and without Burrow, or the big three essentially in the playoffs with him. You would think that Josh Allen's gonna get it done, but I kind of like the Patriots. I kind of like the Patriots and what they're doing. So for the AFC, I'll take the Patriots, and then for the NFC, oh man. I think maybe the 49ers probably. The 49ers, every time they get to the postseason, dude, they're like the Eagles. They're just annoying, and they just find ways to win,
win.
Yeah, and so I would rather not pick the Eagles. So I kind of feel like it's I don't trust Sam Darnold, too much. Maybe he'll ball out though, and the Seahawks might end up going. But NFC wise, I guess Niners, Niners.
Yeah, two good picks. 49ers dealing with a lot of injuries, but like you said, when they're in the playoffs, they have Christian McCaffrey, they have Brock Purdy, and they have Kyle Shanahan. It'll
be snowing during one of their games too, and they'll win.
They'll run it 30 times and win or something.
Yeah.
For me, I think kind of like how you said, as much as I want to pick Buffalo, I think they have a really tough matchup against Jacksonville this week.
Dude, yeah.
And I think that Jacksonville is a team that could surprise some people. I think the Texans with their defense
everyone loves the
definitely
Texans defense,
surprise some people. But I agree with you. I'm going to take the Patriots in the AFC. In the NFC, I'm going to take the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford and the Rams, even though they lost against Seattle, they should have won that game.
Yeah,
and
that's an excellent pick.
Kind of like you. I don't know if I trust Sam Darnold in the playoffs like that.
Got to see it to believe it,
And the Seahawks, I think they're a great team. They definitely could go to the Super Bowl.
Jordan Brooks, old Texas Tech Red Raiders on the Seahawks.
Yeah, and I think that the Rams, just with Matthew Stafford, Puka, Sean McVay, they have a good defense this year. I think that the Rams and the Patriots will end up meeting in the Super Bowl.
I kind of like your pick better than mine. The Rams are a good pick, dude.
Yeah,
it's a good pick.
Should be a really interesting weekend of sports, and that'll kind of wrap things up here in the Miller Waldrop Studios. Fans, make sure to once again come out to our live show at Golf Suites tomorrow for the Texas Tech and Colorado basketball game. Starts at 5 p.m. And if you're not going to be there, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe to all things Campus Live and the Guns Blazin podcast wherever you are seeing it. We appreciate all of y'all's support on every single video and post. And remember, fans, that Campus Live is your one-stop news source for all things Texas Tech and Lubbock. Wreck 'em.
From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.